Welcome back to today's episode. And today I welcome Dr. John Demartini, where we're going to be talking about human behavior and much, much more. Welcome, John, to the show. Privilege to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I was looking forward to it.
Brilliant. So, a quick introduction to Dr. John Demartini, and then we'll dive in. Just give you as a listener a little bit of background. So, Dr. Demartini is a world-leading human behavior specialist, philosopher, international speaker, best-selling author, and founder of the Demartini Method, a revolutionary tool in modern psychology. He has authored 43 books that have been translated into 40 different languages and presented his insights alongside some of the world's most influential people. His work is a summation of almost 5 decades of research, and today he shares his life, business, financial, relationship, and leadership empowerment strategies with people all over the globe to enable them to transform their lives according to their highest values. So, like I said, welcome to the show, Dr. Demartini. So, for anyone who's new to you, I know you're impacting lots of people out there. You've got a lot of work out there and it's all over the globe. But for the listener who might be newer to your work and really interested in how they can work on their behavior, maybe they want to improve themselves, what got you so fascinated into the area of human behavior? Because you've been at this for many, many years, it sounds like.
I had a learning disability or ability when I was very young. I was told in first grade I would never be able to read or write, communicate effectively, probably not go very far in life or amount to much. I only made it through school with asking smart kids questions to get information because reading wasn't working for me. I left school at 13, 14 and left home at that time, became a street kid. I lived at the beach in Texas, and eventually I hitchhiked out to California, lived in California and down in Mexico, and I eventually moved at 15 by myself to Hawaii. I was riding big waves and doing what surfers did back in the late 60s and early 70s, and nearly died at age 17, which led me to a little health food store to recover and to a yoga class. And at that yoga class, there was a special guest speaker named Paul C. Bragg, who in one night, 1 hour, with one message, inspired me to believe that maybe I could overcome my learning problems and someday be able to read and present myself and speak properly. I was going to a speech pathologist from about 1.5 years. So I had speech impediment. That night, I saw a dream or a vision of what I wanted to do. I wanted to overcome my learning problems and become a teacher and be able to be intelligent. I never thought I was going to be intelligent till that day. I thought I'd be surf smart, but not book smart. That night, my life truly changed, and that determination to overcome this learning challenge and speaking challenge began. I eventually left Hawaii, flew back to Los Angeles, hitchhiked back to Texas, took a GED, and miraculously passed that thing. I wish I could tell you how I did it, but it just was one of those things that was meant to be, I guess. I passed this test. I tried to go back to school. When I did, I failed again. And I remember crying on the way home from a test. I got a 27. You need a 72 to pass. I remember crying and curling up in a fetal position on the floor of the living room at my parents' house, thinking this whole fantasy about learning how to be intelligent is just a delusion. I'm going to have to go back and surf, it looks like. My mom saw me laying on the floor and she said, "Son, what happened? What's wrong?" And I said, I guess I was told by my first grade teacher, I've never read, write, or communicate, never amount to thing, never go very far in life. So that's what popped in my head. I told her that. She paused and she looked at me and she said, "Son, whether you become a great teacher and travel the world like you say you want to do, whether you go back to ride big waves in Hawaii, or you return to the streets and panhandle as a kid on the street that you did, just want to let you know that your father and I are going to love you no matter what." When she said that, my hand went into a fist. I saw the vision the night that I met Paul Bragg in my mind again. And I said to myself, I'm going to master this thing called reading, studying, and learning. I'm going to master this thing called teaching and philosophy and healing. And I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to travel whatever distance. I'm going to pay whatever price to give myself to love across this planet. I'm not going to let anything stop me now, not even myself. And it was one of those no turning back moments. So I got up and I hugged my mom and I went into my room and I got a Funkel Wagnalls dictionary out. If you bought $20 worth of food at a grocery store, you get this dictionary.
Oh,
And I decided I was going to memorize 30 words a day and I would recite them, pronounce them 20 times, spell them 20 times, put them in a sentence 20 times, all 30 words. So I worked hard on it each day to grow my vocabulary and to pronounce it. And my mom would test me on 30 words a day until my vocabulary was strong enough to go back and pass school. And from the bottom of the class, I went to the top of the class. I was more determined than most of the kids. They were taking their college for granted, partying and stuff. I just had this really thirst now to learn. So that was 1972, and I met Paul Bragg. 73 is when I went to school. And for the last 52 years, I've done nothing but that. Just research, write, travel the world, teach. That's it. I don't do much anything else. I've delegated. I learned a long time ago to delegate everything that you're not masterful and inspired to do.
mm,
So all I do is teach every day, write every day, research every day, travel. I live on a ship that goes around the world and I just teach and travel. So that's it. I don't do anything else. I'm useless. I haven't driven a car in 34 and a half years, almost 35 years. January, I think it'll be 35 years. I haven't cooked since I was 24. I haven't done anything else except that.
mm.
So I
And that's what you love.
delegated everything that requires external motivation, and I just stick to my core competency that I developed a competency in through a lot of work.
I love that. What you absolutely, it sounds like you absolutely loved that, and that was your vision. But you had some setback. I'm just curious. For me, it sounded like there's a lot of action, and there's still a lot of action to this day that can see from the work you've done and what you just shared in that story. With that vision, you said it like reappeared, and then that moment with Paul, obviously was a big one. Did you regularly come back to that vision like every single day, or was it just something that hit you so hard that you didn't need to? I'm just curious when I hear sometimes people talk about like visualizing things. I mean, read the book Think and Grow Rich a couple of times, and yeah, I'm just always curious. Was it something you kept visiting again and again, or was it just something that stuck so strong that your actions just naturally were so strong?
No, when I met Paul Bragg, he said that we have a body, we have a mind, and we have a soul. He
Mm,
called it the soul. And the body must be directed by the mind must be guided by the soul in order to maximize your potential in life.
mm,
He said, you want to set a goal for yourself, your family, your community, your city, your state, your nation, your world, and beyond for 100 to 120 years. And what you think about, what you visualize, what you affirm, what you feel, what you take actions on and plan becomes your destiny. So I wrote down what little I could think of at the time because I had a limited vocabulary. I wrote down what I dreamed about doing at the time. And I really wanted to do something like he had done because he made such an impact in my life. I wanted to do something for other people. I wanted to make a difference in somebody else's life like that. And I wrote down that I wanted to travel the world generically. And I wrote down that I wanted to be a great teacher. I wanted to learn how to read. I want to be able to read, well, extremely well. I wanted to be able to speak, articulate clearly. I wanted to be able to travel the world and make some sort of input, influence, and inspiration like he did for me. And I just wrote that. I started with what I knew inside my mind. And then I read it and refined it. Every time I'd read it, I'd edit it and add some new things to it, new details.
mm.
And then I was pursuing that and I would keep records and metrics on what was being accomplished. So I picked up my first book, Chico's Organic Garden and Natural Living. There's a long-haired hippie on the cover of it, and I looked like me, and I thought, because I had long hair and I was a hippie at the time, I thought, man, if he could write this book, I bet I could read it. That's the first book I ever looked at. And so I just started reading and metricing, what did I read? What did I write down? I kept records of what I was doing to metric it. I really believe that if you really have a value on something, you'll metric it to make sure you're monitoring your progress to see what's working and not working. And I started master planning my life out, what I call the state of my mission. And I got really clear and concise of what I was dedicated to, a real mission statement kind of thing. And now that main document has been read, refined, and read and refined. The mission statement is on its 82nd rendition. Just I keep tweaking it with adding a word, a phrase. When you get tears of inspiration, you get this in content in your mind, you add it to it. And then I've just kept refining the goals as I was able to accomplish the goals kept expanding. And I wrote down all the countries I wanted to go to, all the continents. I've been to every continent speaking now, even Antarctica, all the countries. I've spoken to 160 countries and more, traveled more than that because I live on a ship that goes around the world. I basically metriced everything that I set out to do. All the different disciplines that I got to study, the ologies I got to read about, and the books. I kept record of everything. That document now is 9,000 pages. I read it every single day. I leave wherever I left off, and I write and update it daily. I just finished it before I got on updating it for the day. And I work on it every single day of my life. And I take this is the 276 presentation so far this year I've done, just this year. And there's not even 270 days, I think, yet. I do at least a talk a day, and I do podcast every day, and I write every day, and I travel consistent as much as possible, either on the ship or I'm flying somewhere, because I don't call myself a success. I just call myself a man on a mission, just to do what I dreamed about doing when I was at that young age. And here I'm 70, and just November I'll be 70. So just 52 years I've been focused on it.
Still going. Oh, wow. Real dedication to that document and your statement and keeping records. I love that as well. I think that's an important thing because can get so caught up. I know I've been guilty of being so caught up, and I've heard it from many people of day to day. So keeping some kind of focus, especially in this quite distraction world, and actually being able to maintain focus on what you're doing.
I learned not to. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire, your day is going to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. Identifying what's truly most important and most valuable, most inspiring, most meaningful, most real priority for you liberates people. You brought up before we got on about self-esteem and about sabotage and all that. So many people don't know what's really most important to them. They are so accustomed to subordinating to outer authorities, injecting the values of others, attempting to be somebody they're not, being second at somebody else instead of first being themselves, and standing in the shadows instead of on the shoulders of greatness, that they cloud the clarity of what's inside them that's really important. Not what they think it should be, ought to be, or supposed to be, or got to be, or must be, or need to be, but what it really is authentically. And the moment they pursue that, they have an intrinsic, spontaneous, inspired action to fulfill it. And the second they go wavering from that and deviating from what's really most important and trying to fit in instead of stand out and try to subordinate to outer influence, they will end up thinking that they're sabotaging, thinking they've got limited beliefs, self-depreciating as a feedback, essential healthy feedback to let them know they're not being true to themselves. They're not being authentic to what's really important. They just think it's important. I've asked people, millions of people, how many of you want to be financially independent, for instance? And many conferences, thousands of people, I ask them, how many of you want to be financially independent? Everybody puts a hand up, two hands up, a leg in the air. They all put that out there. And I said, how many of you are financially independent? All the hands go down, even in highly driven individual people. And I said, isn't it interesting? You all say you want that, but your life doesn't demonstrate it. Your life demonstrates what you value. And many people, if you gave them money, for instance, $10 million or something, and said, all right, now you got a minute to write down what you would do with that money. You got 1 minute to write down the 10 things you would do if I gave you 10 million. they'll quickly write down, get a car, go on a trip, get some clothes, get a house. It's all about things. It's all about lifestyle. And it wasn't about wealth building, but they fantasize the lifestyles of the rich and famous. And that's not how you get wealthy financially. It's deferring gratification and not buying consumables that appreciate in value, and only buying things that go up in value because you value your side. You worked hard for it, and you value your money working for you. So you're not a slave; you're its master. But most people think they want to be financially independent, but the stats only show 1% or less that really do. So what people say they want and what they actually want are two different things. And what they say they want is a comparison and a subordination to outer influences by people they admire. And they try to live in other people's values, and then they end up being a consumer of other people to buy things to make them feel temporarily good when they're not feeling fulfilled inside. You're not going to be fulfilled doing things that aren't really most important to you. So finding that is one of the keys and the beginning point, starting point to go and do something extraordinary with your life. And helping people find that is on my website, drdemartini.com. There's a complimentary, free, private value determination process that I've developed over the last 46 years of the 52 years I've been teaching to help discern and differentiate the fantasies of what's important, and by comparing it to what your life is demonstrating. Because you're making decisions in every single moment based on what you think is going to give you the greatest advantage or disadvantage in that real value system. So finding what that is and starting there and prioritizing your life and dedicating to what's highest in priority and doing it in a way that it serves people in sustainable, fair exchange manners, and delegating to other experts that love doing the thing you want to delegate that is required for you to build some sort of service to the world, is liberating and self-actualizing, and builds incremental momentum that's unstoppable as far as great achievement.
I was going to ask you, how does someone actually go to that place when they've been fed with stuff their whole life of the agenda of others, whether it's family or teachers or friends or just co-workers around them, and maybe they're so lost, because I often get that feedback when people are speaking to me. I've been there myself. When you're so lost, you're like, well, I just don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel right. It doesn't light me up, but you don't know what you want to do. And it sounds like that tool on your website is a really important one for determining the values and moving forward.
It's very important. Now, I'd like to share a story, if I could, about that. I've been
Please.
teaching a particular program for about 35 years, more than 35 years, called the Breakthrough Experience. Taught it 1,220 times. And I had a lady who was in London. We were near Kensington Palace, actually, in a hotel by there. And she said, Dr. Demartini, I just don't know what I want to dedicate my life to. I just don't know what my purpose is. I just don't know what it is. And I hear that every week. I mean, I've been hearing that for a long time. And I said, what do you do every single day that nobody has to motivate you to do, that you spontaneously do, that you're inspired by, that you love to do on a daily basis? She said, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I said, you didn't answer my question. You dodged my question. Close your eyes, get present. What do you do every single day that you spontaneously do, that nobody has to remind you or motivate you to do, that you love doing? And she looked at me and she opened her eyes and she said, be with my kids. I said, great. So on a daily basis, are you with your kids? She goes, yeah. And you have 2 kids, 3 kids? How many kids? 2 kids, a boy and a girl. I said, are you a homeschooling teacher? Is that why you're with them every day? She goes, I am. I said, is that what you love doing? She goes, I do. But is that good enough? She said. I said, you're comparing yourself to somebody else. And whenever you compare yourself to somebody else, by the law of contrast, you're going to self-depreciate if you put them on a pedestal. She said, I think that's what's happening. I said, let's go through some criteria and let's confirm what's important. If you were to look at your space, your intimate, and your between 18 inches and 4 feet around you, what's the dominant thing that fills that space most hours of the day that you're awake? My kids and the teaching. And time, out of most hours of the day, what do you spend most of your time on? Teaching my kids. I spend my whole day with them. Great. And what energizes the most? Watching the light bulbs go off in their eyes when they get new insights and they can share back with me their discoveries and things. I said, and when you get money, where's most of your money go? She goes, the house and the kids. And what is it that's most organized? My organized day on my curriculum for my kids and the time for my kids. And what are you most disciplined? What is it you would never you won't let yourself down on? She says, making sure I'm with my kids and they're taken care of and they're getting education. I said, and what is it you think about, visualize, an internal dialogue with yourself about most, about how you would really want your life to look that shows evidence of coming true? She got a tear in her eye. She said, watch my kids do something extraordinary with their life and be a teacher. I said, and what do you, when you bring in converse with people, what do you keep bringing the conversation to? If I'm engaged, I'm going to talk about what I'm teaching. And what is it that you get inspired by and tears in your eyes? She goes, watching my kids make insights and break through stuff. I said, and what are your 3 most significant goals? What's the number 1 goals you got in your life? Top 3 you got? She said, taking care of, watching my kids, being a great mother and watching kids grow and do something with their life. I said, and what do you love studying? Child development, education. That's my whole life study. I said, now, the truth is, you know what you'd love to do. She goes, I'm starting to think that. I said, Rose Kennedy, when she wrote her mission statement, which I had a handwritten actual note from Rose Kennedy, from the Kennedy family, in one of the books that I was received from one of the people that got it from them. It says, I dedicate my life to raising a family of world leaders. And she went on to do that. Her children became leaders because of her, who had a mission. I said, the only reason you're not honoring what it is that your mission is because you're comparing it to somebody. So who do you really think you're comparing yourself to? She says, I think I know. There's a woman who has got a big business. She's got 2 kids. She's got nannies. She's got people to help her. They're in special schooling. But she's running this business. And I keep thinking I should be running a business. Why am I just doing this? And I'm minimizing myself to those people. And I said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. Anytime you put someone in a pedestal, you're going to minimize yourself and you're going to be too humble to admit what you see in them inside you. And you're going to then basically play second at being you instead of first, being you. And you're going to be trying to be second at being them and first not being you, first at being you. She said, and I said, who else? I said, there's probably somebody else. She's another girl that's basically philanthropic. She's married to a very wealthy guy. And she's basically, philanthropic and going out and doing charities, stuff like that. And I compare myself to them because I grew up with them and they went on and did amazing things. And compared to them, I feel like I'm not doing what I'm capable of doing. But this is what I absolutely love doing. I said, your mission, ma'am, is teacher to some beautiful children that you love. She cried. And she said to me, she said, that's all I've ever wanted to do. I said, then give yourself permission to be you. The magnificence of who you are is far greater than any fantasies you'll impose on yourself, comparing yourself to other people that you think have a better life that they don't. They have a different set of challenges, a different set of pains and pleasures. They don't have a better life. They have a different life. Nobody's got a better life or a worse life, just a different life. Hedonic adaptation and treadmills automatically make sure we all have pains and pleasures. So when she got through, she came up, she just hugged me. And she cried. I looked around the room and there's probably 30 or 40 women crying because they're struggling with that same issue. And they're judging themselves and labeling themselves. I keep sabotaging because I don't run that business or I don't have that philanthropic. I have limiting beliefs because I keep procrastinating, hesitating, frustrating on what I thought was important, but isn't really important because I'm too busy doing what is important, but I don't honor that because I'm comparing it. And she said, thank you for asking me these questions and give me permission because I kind of look up to you, but at the same time, you've said, honor yourself. It's not about us out there. It's not about the teachers out there, the people you compare. It's about you're not here to compare yourself to other people. You're comparing yourself and your own actions to your own dreams. That's why I metric my own actions to my own dreams every day. It's not about what other people want. No one wants what I want to do. I want to do that. And all I know is that lady was just in tears, and so were a lot of other women in there and men. And she had no question. I said, now go write down your mission statement. And she wrote down a mission statement that was a tearjerker. What she was going to do and how she was going to impact those kids and give them an opportunity that was extraordinary. A real dedication of love and affection for those kids to learn, to take them places, take them museums and do this. And they were going to get an education that not everybody got at typical school. And she gave herself permission to be herself. And so many people don't do that. So many people are on social media comparing themselves to the fantasies that's being portrayed out there instead of their magnificent self. I love helping people find their magnificent self. And that's why I start with the values first and look at what your life demonstrates. Your hierarchy of values dictates your destiny. It dictates how you perceive, decide, and act. And it dictates what's really, really what you're committed to. And finding that out is discovering yourself, knowing yourself, and being yourself, and loving yourself. That's the path. So when people beat themselves up and think they're sabotaging, no, they're not actually. They think they are, but they're comparing their actions to what they think it should be. And you'll hear it in their language. They'll use imperatives instead of indicative language. And I help them realize that. And the second they do, they take off. They honor what it is that they're really committed to. And they find a way of making it philanthropic, making a difference in other people in some sort of sustainable, fair exchange manner. So other people can benefit from what they're committed to and what they're inspired by. So they get the fulfillment of making some difference in either children or adults or somebody. So they get rewarded and remunerated for that. Because I believe you can get handsomely paid for whatever the path that you want to take on. And I try to show people how to do that.
I love that. How I know comparison to others has been a common kind of thing that's come up from the listeners that I've heard. And I know it's been a challenge from people I've coached in the past as well, and myself. So yeah, like a lot of the times, admittedly, I've heard the words like self-sabotage, or I'm not doing what I'm meant to do, all these kind of things. And it's really interesting sometimes when I've been in like business groups and there's the one entrepreneur who's just out there loving it, like making it and like making a load of money, and then someone else, they're like hesitant, and it's like putting it off. So in that kind of example, could that be a case of values, that the one putting it off, it's perhaps not as important to them as the one who's
not as important, or they have one of these 7 issues. And if you can, I'll share another story.
Yeah, I'd love to.
The fear of not being smart enough, which means you're trying to be intelligent in an area that's not really high in your values, which is where you learn the most. Your epistemological excellence is always in the area of your highest value. Anytime you try to be knowledgeable and intelligent in anything but the highest value, you're going to end up having that wavering uncertainty. The fear of failing, fear of not succeeding, this is a delusion of the amygdala of each individual. The fear of not making money or losing money, the fear of losing loved ones or the respect of loved ones, the fear of rejection from somebody you think is more important than you in life, the fear of ill health, death, or disease, the fear of breaking the morals and ethics of some spiritual authority that you've subordinated to. Those are the fears that immobilize people. But all of them are feedback mechanisms to let you know that you're not really on your highest priority track. Because the second you do, you're independently unique, because everybody has a unique set of values. And when you get clear about what yours are in there and you honor those, then you realize that you're not comparing yourself to what they know. They know what they know. I know very little about IT. I know very little about computers. I know nothing about cars. I don't know anything about sports. I'm an ignoramus in that area. But human behavior, I've read 31,000 books on it. So that area, I can do it. But the other area, no. So don't compare yourself to somebody that happens to have a different set of values and happens to be excelling in an area that you haven't been high on your values. Because then you're going to think, oh, I should be doing that. And then you're going to try to be doing something that's, you got a resistance and a break on. Anything low in your value, you're going to procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate. Anything low in your value, you're going to devalue yourself on. Anything's low in your value, you're not going to stay focused on and disciplined and reliable on. So stop going after something that's not authentically you and go and give yourself permission to be you. Watch what happens. You won't let yourself down. There's nobody out there that's got a problem, really. They just haven't got clarity about the path. The second they do, they take off. I've seen it. I've got thousands of people. I've watched them do this. So they run the story, because they think it should be, I should be doing this. So let me share a bit of a story here. So there's this guy, he came to me and he says, Dr. Demartini, I want you to help me become successful. I said, okay. I said, where are you successful? He said, Dr. Demartini, I'm not successful. I want to be successful. And I want you to help me be successful. I said, great. Where are you successful?
It's not
He
getting
said,
away with that one.
you're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm not successful. I want you to help me be successful. I said, you're not answering my question. Where are you successful? Where are you achieving something you set out to do that's meaningful and inspiring to you? He stopped and he goes, okay, I have an amazing wife, an amazing marriage. Compared to most people I know, we have an amazing, I mean, we've been together 10 and a half years, almost 11 years, and we really have a lot of love for each other. I said, fantastic. Is that something you had dreamed about and worked towards and you now have a meaningful relationship? Yes, I did. What else? Well, I have a 10-year-old son who's in baseball and I am the coach. And I think we're going to win the pennant this summer. We're definitely on track. And that's a dream of his and mine. And family is important to me, and seeing him excel and it's just that, I guess that's a success. Great. Where else? Now that I think about it, my mother-in-law lives with us. Very few people can handle having their mother-in-law live in their home. And almost anybody I know says absolutely not. And she lives there and she's great. She's like a mother and she helps the kids and it's like she's part of the family. And I think that's an amazing thing that we're able to do. We really have a close family. I said, what else? Well, now I think about it, we all work in the yard. We've got the most beautiful yard in the whole area. And we're going to probably win the yard of the month in our association area. And the whole family works. All the kids, we all work as a team, a close family working on the yard. Beautiful flowers and flower beds and trees. And what else? He says, well, on Wednesday, I do ministerial work. And on Sundays, I'm a minister in the afternoons after some of the thing when the minister's working. And I do classes. And that's been a goal since my 20s. I said, so you have 5 or 6 things there that you've set out to do that you're achieving? He said, yes. I said, are those things you would call, fulfilling achievements? Yes. I said, the only reason you're judging yourself is because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. Who are you comparing yourself to? He said, I think I know. There's a guy up on the hill who's also a doctor. He's got a 6,000 square foot house, 3-car garage, 5 cars, got a big practice, really influential. And I guess I compare myself to him and I'm thinking, compared to him, I'm floundering in the practice compared to that. And I said, do you know his family pretty well? Yeah. You know his wife and their relationship? Yeah. How is it? Well, it's interesting you ask. It's very volatile. I think they break up about every 3 to 6 months and then they're back together and they're fighting and it's screaming matches and it's extremely volatile. I said, does he have any kids? Yep. You have a son? Yep. How's his relationship with the son? Well, it's interesting you said that. He got kicked out of school and he's been doing drugs and they're having to go to counselors and he's been labeled this and it's just a lot of turmoil around that son. And they fight with each other and they blame each other for the way the son's turning out. And it's a lot of stress. I said, and do they have a mother-in-law? They live with the mother-in-law? No, they got out of that country and got away from her, live in a totally different country. And they have major fights about their parents-in-laws. I said, and they notice their yard? Do they work in their yard? No, they have people that take care of that. I don't think they even notice that. And do they go to church and they participate in that and anything like that? And no, he's busy focusing on his business. He's working nonstop. I said, let me explain something to you. This man that you admire but you're comparing yourself to is not more successful than you. He's simply a man that has a higher value on business and finance, and you have a high value on family and spirituality. You're not any less achieving or more achieving. You just have a different set of values, and your hierarchy of values is dictating your decisions and your perceptions and actions. But you're comparing yourself to him, and therefore you're thinking somehow I should be like him. But if you were like him, you might have the same family dynamics and spiritual awareness, and that would be going against what you value. He said, well, that's true. I wouldn't want to have what he has. I said, well, guess what? If you look carefully, I bet he's probably spent time and honoring and kind of looking up to the way you have your family dynamic and the way your son's turning out. He says, that's interesting. You said that. He's actually asked me what I do and how do I, he probably looks up to me and my family. I looked up to him in the business. Well, if you try to envy them and try to imitate them, with your set of values, you're going to have futility because you can't live because your values are dictating your perceptions and decisions and actions. So you're trying to be going against what your core is. He said, I really think I got it. And I said, so you're not any less successful. So you wanted me to help you with success. I want to let you know you're not missing. Nothing's missing. At your authentic self, nothing's missing. At your false selves, you're going to live in the fantasy or nightmare that things are missing and you need to fix them. When you finally honor who you are, you'd be surprised what kind of transformation happens in your life. He got, I wouldn't say teary-eyed, but he got kind of watery-eyed, and he said, so what you're saying is that I'm already successful. And I said, that's it. He said, that means a lot from you to say that to me. It means a lot because I really looked up to you. And I said, don't look up to me. I'm not more successful than you. I just got a different form of achievement, just like I told you about the other guy. And he goes, really need to hear that. That really helps put things in perspective. But do you think there's any way we can help work on maybe making some more income? And I said, that I can do. But just know that if you don't see how building your business is going to help you with your family, you're going to make sure you don't do that because it's going to undermine your family. You have to link values together in order to make them work in conjunction. So how spending time with your children, how's it going to help you grow your business and make more income? And how is spending time building a business and growing income helping with the children? If you can't see it, you'll have a conflict inside and you'll make a decision according to your values, and that's going to be your children. He said, that's what's happening. It says, I will stop what I'm doing at work. And I know I could probably make more if I was there, but I'm not going to miss his practice. I'm not going to miss my Sunday school, and I'm not going to miss the yard because those are higher on his values, totally different than another person. So you really got it. And I said, so here's some action steps to automate some automatic savings and investments. Here's some simple things on developing assets. Here's some prioritizations and some delegations at work. And I worked with him for 3 or 4 sessions to help him manage his business so he could be with his family, but having people delegated to do the things that allowed him to grow more wealth. So there's nothing stopping us from doing something extraordinary if we allow ourselves to delegate things and get other people to help us in the areas that's not highest on our values. And that changed his life that day.
Wow, powerful story. With just kind of, I want to touch a little bit on the financial piece, because you said, keeping as much in getting him true to his values, which were like family and spirituality in this case. And many people are like, right, well, I'd like some more money, but they stay in their state, they try and get in there. What's an alignment for them? Like whether that's family, whether that's spirituality. There's some things I guess some people have to do that's not basically in their best interest. Like maybe they got a job currently that they need to get money from in order to do that. But are you saying that they should be making more time in their day for what is truly right for them, even if they have to do some things temporarily?
No, it's waking up to the reality that the reason why they're doing it is because of what their values are. So a person that's sitting there thinking they're trapped, trying to make ends meet by going to work instead of, maybe working on a business idea plan or something, is because in their minds, the way it's structured in their values, there's more advantage and disadvantage going that route than the anxieties that are associated with the unknown. The thing that they have conjured in their mind. It's not fear of the unknown, it's fear of what they've conjured in their mind. And they're in their mind, they're thinking, if I go out on my own business, for instance, I could have this problem and this problem, this problem. And so that's the content of their mind when they go that path. And so they're going to put the amygdala is going to automatically put a brake on that because this over here is secure. So if they have a security over here, let me give you another story. This will really make some sense. So I have this guy and he goes, and it was another doc, because I've used to work a lot with docs. And he said, I'd really like to break through a plateau. I've got a 3-year plateau. My stats have been almost steady for 3 years, haven't grown. And I said, okay, so what do you say you want? What is your vision that you say you want? I'd like to take the business to this level. And we went through his values and we looked through his goals, and there's quite a few incongruent goals. If you say, I want to work 4 days a week and I want to only work this many hours, I want to see this many patients, I want to charge this amount, I can calculate and give you an exact figure of what that's going to lead to if you were to do that. But that's not always what people fantasize. I want to have $1 million practice or two. They have to be congruent or the brain shuts it out, deletes. There's no congruency. So first I cleaned up this congruency on his objectives. Then he realized, I said, what's the fear if all of a sudden we now go there and I get you that, because I can get you there. If I get you to that place over there and get you, we navigate you through the obstacles, what are you afraid is going to happen? He said, I don't really want to admit this, but I'm afraid my wife's going to leave me. I said, why? He said, because 3 of my buddies that took off in their practice all end up in a divorce. They got so focused on their practice, so engaged in that, they had a divorce because they didn't have time. And I have a value on my family, and that would kill me if I did that. And I'm right at that edge. My wife is saying, you don't see the kids, you're not home enough. And she has her set of values, and I'm already on the edge. And if I go over that edge, I lose this. And then everything I'm working for gets cut in half. And I said, so your mind has associated in your value system. If I go and do all the things that I know intellectually to go and do the work, I will then have the biggest pain in my life. So you're not going to do it until we can navigate and show how that's happening. So how is growing the business going to help you with your wife? He goes, I don't know. I said, if you don't know how, you won't do it. So let's find it. How could growing your business help your wife? What's important to her? Let's find out what her top values are. If we communicate what we want in our values to somebody else in their values, we get what we want in life. Help other people get what they want to get in life. You get what you want to get in life. If I made more income, I could make sure that I told her that a portion of this money is going towards the children's education, which is really high in her values. Great. Let's write that down. What's another benefit of growing the business? If I grew my business and I had more income, I could also go on more vacations and we'd have some time together. Do you really want to do that? Or are you just saying that because that sounds socially nice? No, I would love to do that. Okay. Because if you talk about growing your business and you do it in a way that she's going to win out of it, she's going to support you. But right now, what you're doing is interfering with what she wants. That's why she's letting you know, you're on the edge. She's not getting what she wants in the relationship. She loves you, but she's not getting what she wants. So I made him go through and make the links between what he wanted to do, the action steps he knew he needed to do, and how is that going to help her. And we made the links in his brain so he didn't see it in the way, he saw it on the way. And then I asked, how is spending time with the kids helping you in your business? He said, when I'm with the kids, I'm meeting people and I'm engaged and I start talking. We started thinking of all the ways that being with the kids and doing things with the kids and her, going to dinner, going out, going places, playing baseball, or whatever they're going to do, all those things are going to be exposing to potentially new clients. So he now saw it as a new marketing angle to spending time with her. We went in there and we said, all right, now if we go in to build the business, what is the highest priority thing in your business? Because if you're doing low priority things, you're devaluing yourself and holding yourself back. When you do, your wife is going to point out what you're doing to yourself. The purpose of a wife is to point out your inauthenticities and where you're self-depreciating, to let you know, to get you back up on track on the priority. And he was doing low priority stuff because he had hired somebody and it was painful. He had to go and hire another person, because he didn't know how to hire people according to values, because nobody goes to work for the sake of a company. They go to work to fulfill what they value. You hire somebody that would love to do what you want to do, you can delegate it without abnegation and without having to micromanage. So we prioritized what was the most important things for him to do, which is going out and meeting people and speaking and exposing, clinically doing the clinical practice, training doctors and staff members. We prioritized what he did to the most productive and meaningful things, which freed him 20% of his time. 20% of his time, we prioritized what he did. We hired 3 people, prioritized what we did, delegated some things, got him under the highest priority, which made him feel more important and make more income per hour. He was able to then show it how it helped the family. His practice went up $200,000, $200,000 that year, just from that alone. Just that one session of meeting there and going through that, navigating through those, $200,000 that went up, which put another $70,000 towards the wife's goals and dreams at that 200, because you got to pay taxes on part of that. So wow. It's all value driven. And if you can't communicate what you want in terms of other people's values, you're holding yourself back in life. And if you can't respect other people's values in order to do that, you're going to hold yourself back. You're going to project your values onto them and expect them to live in your values, which is futile. or you're going to subordinate to them and try to live in their values, which is futile. It's about communicating what you value in terms of what other people value. That's the sustainable, fair exchange pathway of greater achievement and the fulfillment of the main areas of life.
So linking your values with their values in the case of
Yeah.
the relationship, but also linking your values in one area with another, because sometimes you might think, oh, it's going to compromise that, but actually if you can see the benefits and what that's going to do for that area of your life.
I can take I had a woman, I had a gentleman come to my breakthrough experience program in Ohio. And he came up to me after the program on the Sunday. It's a 2-day weekend program. And he came up to me and he says, man, I wish my wife would have been here. It would have really helped our dynamic if she'd also been here. Do you ever do private consults and private things with people? And I said, yeah. I lived in New York in Trump Tower at the time. So he literally sent his wife to Plaza Hotel, which is like 3 blocks away. And I left Sunday, left him on Tuesday. His wife was at the Plaza Hotel. And I spent the day, he paid for my time, paid $30,000 for my day to go and spend time there with her. And it was interesting. We found out that the reason he wanted to do it is because they were having a little bit of clash, nothing big. It was not divorce material, but just clash stuff. And I asked, from talking to him, I knew what his values are. I found out what her values were. And I said, now that we know the values, how is his highest value helping you fulfill yours? It's not. All he does is work. He's not here with the kids. Very common dynamic, very common. And if she can't see what he's dedicated to as serving her, she's going to be challenged. She's going to get the amygdala activated. She's going to go into pride. She's going to project her values. She's going to bitch at him. Now, if he can't see what her values are as helping him, he's having the perception that she's spending money and needing a bigger house and needing more things and all that stuff. And he's trying to get ahead financially. And so there's a clash in objectives here, which is pretty normal. Producers and consumers are part of the social structure. So I basically linked her values and his values together from 8 in the morning till about 1 o'clock. Just linking.
Wow.
How specific is him doing this? How is him going to work? How is him going to classes and educational conferences? How is him going golfing? How is him golfing? And everything that he's doing, how is it helping her? And how is what she's doing helping him? And I just linked and linked and linked until she was in tears. And she never saw it. She's never even remotely saw that. She just thought, I'm going to fix him. And he's going to finally mature and understand what's important in life. Everybody projects their values, thinks they know what's important onto people. And that's what's important is true to individuals, there's no collective fantasy out there that's important. There may be some patterns, but not, I've been doing value determination 46 years, and I assure you, there's uniqueness and originality sitting in these values. So the second we got through, she was kind of in tears, and she was like, my anger's gone. I can understand what he's doing. I mean, I have a house. I got a beautiful clothes. I have a car. I've got kids. They're all in school. And if it wasn't for him doing all that, I realized I'm putting him in a paradox of moral dilemma that if I don't work, I'm screwed. I'm not going to provide what she wants. And if I come home, I'm not working. and if I come home, I can't produce. And if I produce, I'm a bad father. So it wasn't drastic divorce, but it's just the tensions that are going on in everybody's relationship. When she was through, she was calm and poised and present and grateful for what he did. I spent the afternoon showing her how to articulate and practice, just like a sales training program, how to communicate what you want in terms of what he wants. So she could get what she wants from him by honoring what's important to him in the communication. And she practiced it, and she did really great. I left in the evening. I spent the day there. I left in the evening. I was days later. I don't know how many days later. I got a letter, because in those days there were still letters. Okay, the emails were coming in, but there were still letters. He sent me a beautiful letter. And he says, "I don't know what you did with my wife in that hotel room, but my God, the difference has been drastic. The way she's talking to me, the way she has, the more appreciation, and I'm having the same for her, and I'm giving her more money than I've ever done, because the way she's presented to me, it's making sense. I'm getting what I want by doing it. The tension has been relieved. And because of that, I can sleep at night. I'm not irritable, and my business has gone up because I'm
Mm.
not with this internal conflict. And she's now not on my case. It's like she's understanding what I'm doing. And I said, well, I spent the entire day linking values because you even though you have care for each other, majority of people have never been trained in that. They've never taken the time to go and ask, how specifically is the person I care about that I'm in a relationship with, whether it be kids or a spouse or customer or employees or whoever, friends, how specific is what they're dedicated to, what's most important to them, how's it helping me? Because if I can't see them, I want to fix them, or I don't want to be around them. But if I can see it, I'm going to appreciate them. And when I appreciate people, I tend to treat them differently. And then how specific is my highest values helping them fulfill theirs? And when I do, I can now articulate like a salesperson in people's values. So they're feeling they're getting their values met by the way I'm communicating. It makes a difference. It really does. And their relationship was definitely enhanced. It cost him a bit of a thing, but compared to what that gave them, he made that up that month in his business. So he just goes, I got that now. We both know what to do now and how we can communicate with each other. Because he had gotten it on the weekend, but she got it on that special day. Big difference in their life. And they started practicing that with their kids. They started practicing that, believe it or not, with their dog.
Wow.
And how to train a dog, because they realize the way they train a dog is no different. You don't make them wrong and then punish them, and it's confusing to them. You show them how to do it. That just like you see in the customs department, they have the way they train the dogs. We're men are dogs. That's why they put them in the doghouse.
Meeting the dog's highest values. In some cases, we can do that with each other, right? That sounds like, wow. With values, it's not just for intimate relationships, but like you said, it's like relationships with your family, with your friends, and sales conversations. I'm in sales myself, and in business, of course, when you're meeting people. Just because I was going to ask you about like influence, and I think you've covered a lot of that by just talking about values and meeting people's values to get yours met as well. Powerful.
Well, if Zig Ziglar taught me when I was 20. I went to a Zig Ziglar
Oh
class,
wow.
and that was in the 1975. So you go back a ways when I was with him, and 74, 75. No, 74, 75. And anyway, he said, if you help enough other people get what they want to get in life, you'll get what you want to get in life. So I realized that if you don't have a work ethic, if you don't have a desire to serve, poor Matt, I don't know why I thought that was off. If you don't have a desire to serve, and service is not a projection of what you value and what you think people need. It's a dialogue and a communication and negotiation between what you would love to bring to people that you know will help people and what they are perceiving they want. And finding that mix and bridging that gap is called caring. When you talk down to people, it's careless. When you are walking on eggshells, it's careful. But when you actually have a loving relationship, it's caring. And that's what selling is. It's caring about another individual to try to find out what they really need and how do you help them get that.
Mm. Came out with a lot of great quotes, Zig Ziglar. Yeah,
Yes.
I like that one. That's an awesome one. So, Dr. Demartini, I know you've got a lot more resources on values, and there's a ton more information you provide. You've got so many books out there. You've got, you do your events and many other things. Just before we sort of wrap up today, is there anything you'd like to leave us with? Maybe summarizing anything we've talked about today or something additional. And where can the listener find you if they want to find a little bit more about you or your work?
Well, all they have to do is go to DrDemartini.com, DrDemartini.com, and just go and browse the website.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough on there, education on there that would keep you busy. And if you resonate with that and you want more of what's there, just keep looking and you'll find what I'm doing around the world, because I just do it. That's what I love doing.
Mm.
As far as a message, Just know that the magnificence of who you authentically are is far greater than any fantasies you'll ever impose on yourself. And having the courage to be yourself in a world that wants you to fit in instead of stand out is liberating. You're not going to be the greatest you being second at being somebody else. And you're not going to make a difference fitting in and conforming. You're going to make a difference by standing out and following what your heart is. I said in the movie The Secret many years ago, when your voice and the vision on the inside is louder than all opinions on the outside, you've begun to master your life. So trust that inner vision and inner voice, that intuitive whisper that's guiding you and directing you, and trust it. Watch what happens. And then keep prioritizing your life. Don't do low priority things that you'll devalue yourself. And so will the world. Do the highest priority things you can and delegate the rest and help other people have a job by doing it. And then give yourself permission to do that one thing, as Gary Keller says, that allows you to make the biggest difference that you want to be great at.
Great book. Yeah. So I love that final message. I think that's a really powerful one, especially for this podcast. So once again, Dr. Demartini will be sure to link up all your resources, because I know there's a ton, including helping people with discovering who they are and their values. I want to thank you though for your time today. It's been such a bunch of golden nuggets.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with your audience.
Appreciate it. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, lead with your heart, not with fear.